Hello, everyone, and welcome to our free April webinar. Ask me anything about growing your virtual bookkeeping business. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. As you're joining me, then go ahead and put in the chat where you're joining from. I always love to see where everyone is joining from. I'm always surprised about all the different places where people tune in from, and always very humbled that you're with me from so far away and sometimes so very close. So see, we have Colleen from Missouri, Sarah from Louisiana, Jill from Utah, Carol from Maryland, and let's see, Susie from California, Ahmed from Dubai, Megan from Kentucky, Grace from Houston, right down the freeway from me here, Brienne from Pennsylvania, Julie from Georgia, and Maureen from Westchester, Pennsylvania. How exciting. So if you're just joining me, you probably can tell just from the chat that go ahead and let me know where you're joining from. I'm always super excited that you're with me. I always look forward to these webinars just because even though I cannot see you, I really feel your presence with me. And let's see, we have feed from Tanzania. Wow. Welcome. Abiola from Montreal, Canada. Lena from British Columbia, Canada. We have Dunia, if I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, from California. Marcelina from St. Lucia or St. Lucia, depending on how you pronounce it. I'm going to go with my Spanish pronunciation, St. Lucia. Ken Bostrom. Hello, Ken from Draper, Utah. David. Carlos from Florida. Christina from Canton, Ohio. So again, welcome everyone. Always so excited to be with you. And thank you for joining me. I know April is a very busy month for everyone with the tax deadlines, at least here in the US, that, we work very hard up until around April 15th. I'm sure you probably still have clients that owe you some documentation and some things for you to be able to finish their books for last year. So I know that it's a lot of work. And so thank you for joining me. And this is why I decided just to do sort of a Q&A, because it's easy on me too. I don't have to spend a lot of time preparing for a big presentation. So I'm always excited to answer all of your questions. So as you're joining me, we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. So, well, first of all, I will introduce myself. So in case you don't know who I am, my name is Veronica Wasek. I'm the founder of the 5MB Academy for Virtual Bookkeepers. I'm also the CEO and founder of VM Wasek, where we specialize in working with Shopify clients. I also am the founder of the 5-Minute Bookkeeping YouTube channel and blog, and the founder of the Facebook group 5-Minute Bookkeeping Community. I am a top 10 as well as a top 100 QuickBooks Pro advisor, and let's see what else. Certified advanced in QuickBooks Online, a CPA also in the state of Texas. I live in Sugar Land, Texas, which is right next to Houston, Texas. And you can find me on Instagram at 5-Minute Bookkeeping. Just a little bit more about me. My husband and I own a beautiful 90-acre farm and ranch just 90 miles away from the Houston area in Hallettsville, Texas. It's right in the center of Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, so I'm right in the middle. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place that we have. We've been working very hard on it and always enjoy getting away to spend time there, relaxing and working hard too. But we really love it. So, okay, now for the admin announcement. So all content, handouts, and recordings are under copyright, and you may not record this webinar. We do have handouts, although because it's the Q&A format, there's not going to be anything exciting in the handouts other than I will talk about our special sale later on after we do the Q&A. If you have questions, please put the questions in the questions tab. The chat is reserved just for back and forth, where you can talk amongst yourselves. But I will be monitoring the questions and only answering your questions from the questions tab. Here with me today is Jessie Harris. So you'll see her in the background. She's probably greeting you in the chat right now. And so she'll be helping me along to just monitor questions and provide any links that I mentioned. The handout is available to you. I believe you can see a tab where there is a handout, and we will also be emailing you today's recording and the handout as well. So what is our agenda today? I'm just going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about my own business journey so you can sort of hopefully relate to my journey and where I started and where I am today. We'll be going over all of your questions. I'm here to answer your questions today. And then I will have a special announcement about our 5MB Academy spring sales. So first of all, my business journey. When I started out, I used to go to networking events, and I said I was the CEO of my company, the chief everything officer, because I did everything. So I was doing marketing, sales, working with clients, going to networking events, doing all of the administrative, everything that involved running the business, I was doing it. And initially I thought that, wouldn't that be exciting to be a solopreneur and just have no employees and not worry about anything? But something happened along the way when I had a big cleanup project to work on, and I hired someone to help me with that cleanup. And I realized that while she was working, I was making money. And something clicked, and I thought, okay, there's something to this. Maybe I need to look into growing my team and getting more clients and more people to work under me and be profitable and not have to work as hard doing everything myself. But there was chaos, lots of chaos because of growing, trying to do everything myself, not really having the right tools, not really having systems and processes. I was just keeping track of everything by sticky. So management by sticky. There were stickies all over my computer, my monitor. If I talked to a prospective client, I just wrote it down on a sticky, and then good luck finding the sticky that I was looking for. It was just very chaotic, and it was not fun. But along the way, one of the things that I feel that I did right in the beginning was that I really needed to differentiate myself. I felt that it was very important for me to do something different from what everyone else was doing. And the thing that I landed on was QuickBooks. And I realized that if I specialized in QuickBooks and really marketed myself as a QuickBooks expert, initially it was QuickBooks Desktop, then it was QuickBooks Online, and really did a very good job of marketing my skills as a QuickBooks expert. And that's when all of the clients started coming in because of that specialization. And along the way, there were the apps. So I started my business in 2010. Apps and the cloud and everything started really growing around probably 2013, 2014, and really took off. And of course, now we're all virtual, but there was not such a thing when I started in 2010. And so I embraced technology. I embraced the technology and started really attempting to do everything virtually. And that led me to being able to work with clients, not just in my city. Initially, I thought, okay, well, Texas then, right? I can work with clients in Texas. And then I realized I can work with clients all around the world. Now, I do focus working with clients in the US now, although I have worked with clients worldwide. But the cloud, as we called it then, was really the gateway to being able to work with clients anywhere. And also the gateway for now having tools and processes instead of stickies like I was running my business. So that led to growth and hiring team members. So I started with Jessie. I said she's with me today. I started with Jessie. She was working just 3 hours a week. Okay, so I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hire somebody and for 3 hours a week, and I hope I can pay her. And but it was a big commitment for me to just even feel like I have to commit to paying somebody. But that was the start of it all. We now have 7 employees. Some of us are full time and some part time, but it just goes to show you that you can have that desire to start all on your own and be the chief everything officer, and you never know what can happen. And in my case, my business grew to a point where we now have a team, and that growth necessitated some organization. And so I systematized my business, systematized the way that I did things, and in order to then grow a business in which I could plug the employees into the systems and processes and not have them working by stickies, because that was not going to work. And that was I will say, a painful process to go through, but very well worth it, because we now have a very lean and mean machine, and we do things in a very systematized way. And as of the end of 2019, I saw the need to then really narrow my focus. And this is when we started working with e-commerce sellers, and in particular, Shopify sellers. And so I then differentiated even more and really focused on growing that skill set, which, as you may or may not know, e-commerce is a more complex area to work in, but also a much more profitable area. And so that leads to the future. What is in store for us? So we will continue to grow via Wasek. We are rebranding this year, so there will be a name change. So there will be some exciting announcements about that. We're also looking to focus on some coaching and mentoring for bookkeepers. So there will be an announcement about that too in the next month or so. So there's a lot of exciting things going on, and I'm positioning the business so that it can continue to grow and be of benefit to our employees and our clients. So having said that, I'm going to switch over actually now to our Q&A. So give me 1 second to, hold on, please share screen, to then switch over to my Q&A window. There we go. All right, and I'll just get that in front of me. And so here's the deal. Just put your question in the Q&A, and I will answer your question, and I will answer as many questions as I can in the time that we have together. So again, please don't put your questions in the chat, put them in the Q&A, and that's where I will be. And Jessie may send some questions over from the chat to the Q&A in case you forgot. So here we go. So we have a question from Liz. Actually, I'm going to start with a question that was sent to me because I will forget that. So the first question that was sent to me: how do you find advisory clients? So the question is, how do you find advisory clients? So my answer to that is, I don't think that you look necessarily for advisory clients. So let's say that you're a bookkeeper and you have a book of business, then you need to focus on then working with your better clients to then address some of their advisory needs and see if that would be a good fit for you. So I would, if I were a bookkeeper and had a number of clients, I would then focus on selecting a few of those clients and then working on advisory with them, as opposed to looking for advisory clients specifically, because really the reality is most clients still need the bookkeeping services. Okay. Let's see. I'm starting with Liz. Liz asks, how do you manage client work? Do you schedule a specific day or do you go by a to-do list? So in our case, because we have a team, we assign client work to each of our team members, and then it's up to the team members to then ensure that they get everything that they need from the client. And it's up to them also to manage their schedule. However, we have everything laid out in Keeper app. We use Keeper app to manage all of our client work, all of the projects, all of the tasks. And so we have a very specific process in which things are done. But in terms of specific time of day or the month, I mean, we are busier at the beginning of the month because that's when we get started. If you are not doing bookkeeping full time, let's say that this is, you've got other things going on, then I would definitely encourage you to schedule specific times in your week to work on client work so that you get in a schedule and a routine for doing so. All right. Grace is asking, how do you work with unresponsive clients who don't reply to your emails until weeks later or when they feel like it? That is a fantastic question and something that has been painful for us, and it still is. I mean, first of all, this is the reality of doing bookkeeping. You will work with clients who don't provide you what you need. So there's two ways in which you need to then address that. Number one is that you work with clients on a subscription basis. So that means that they pay you every month, regardless of whether they give you what you need to get the work done. So as long as they understand that they're paying for a subscription and it's use it or lose it, then they're paying you. Okay. So first of all, we want to get paid and not work with a client that, if we're waiting 3 months and we're not getting paid for any of it, then we don't want to do that. We want to get paid every month. And secondly is setting the expectation with that client in the sales phase. Okay, so you need to then have that conversation with that client of, we expect you to be responsive and responsible. We can't get anything done unless you provide us what we need. And so at least to let them know this is how it works. And another way in which you can then work with clients who are not responsive to you is to have a rush fee, because most of them will then want you to rush around tax time to get like maybe 6 months worth of bookkeeping done. And so then they need to essentially pay a penalty and pay a rush fee for you to do their work. But ultimately, I think it's really the goal should be that you are now looking for clients who are responsive. And I know it's not easy to necessarily know who those are, but sometimes you have to let go of the unresponsive ones as you get more responsive ones, because the unresponsive clients are the ones that are taking up all of your time. All right, question from Abiola. Thanks, Veronica. I have a few clients that I work with now, but I just decided to niche in e-commerce. I have done the training by Catching Clouds e-commerce. I know you also service e-commerce clients. Please, how and where can I get e-commerce clients? That is my biggest headache at the moment. All right, so the way that we find our e-commerce clients is through YouTube. So YouTube is where they're looking for help on how to do things with their e-commerce bookkeeping, and that's how they find us. Blogging might be another, if you have people searching, as long as you have articles and content online, they will find you that way. Social media is another. So Instagram, Facebook is another way to do that. Look for groups, either Facebook groups, meetup groups of e-commerce sellers, and go to those meetups. So that's another way. And then just referrals. So let people know that this is your area of specialty. Let as many people as you can know that that's what you do, so that you can get referrals. Andrea says, I have a team of 2 subcontractors. Since I charge a flat fee to my clients, I also pay them a flat rate per client per month. So you're paying your subcontractors a flat rate. They do all the categorizing and reconciling, and I do the reports and client meetings. What would you say is a healthy percentage when it comes to their pay when compared to my revenue? I I don't do that arrangement, but I will tell you just based on how I manage my business in terms of the profitability that I'm looking for, it would need to be at least 50% needs to go to you as the owner, and anything probably 25 to 50% needs to go to your contractor. Generally speaking, in an accounting firm, about 30% typically goes to employees. So I guess 25% is probably on the low end. So we're talking 30 to 50% would go to your subcontractors. But ultimately, I'm not a big fan of paying people a flat rate, just because you may be cutting into your own ability to get a profit out of your business by paying somebody too much. Sherry says, I have seen engagement letters that are less than 1 page long and contracts that are 11 pages long. How long is your contract for monthly bookkeeping? And can one actually cover everything that might go wrong? I'm not sure, unless Jesse can tell us in the chat how many pages our engagement letter is, just because it is now electronic, so we don't really have pages per se. But it is longer than 1 page long. We have added several clauses along the way, so it has become longer along the way. I think it's one of those things that you need to cover yourself for the usual. I mean, it has to list all the services that you will provide. It has to list terms of payment as well, and then other terms of service. And so I don't know what the magic number is in terms of numbers of pages, but it needs to cover very specific things. We also have additional sections for, as I mentioned before, that our services are a subscription. We have an area for if the client does not respond to us, what we would do then. We have sections for just permission to talk to their tax accountant. I mean, there's even more I'm probably forgetting, but we have several sections that, as I said, we've added along the way. And you do have to encourage your clients to read the engagement letters, by the way. Stephanie says, what is the best practice for finding subcontracting bookkeepers, and how can I be sure of their skill sets? So actually a Facebook group where I have found employees. I don't hire subcontractors, I hire employees, but you can find people at Bookkeeping Side Hustle. So that is a group on Facebook. So it's called Bookkeeping Side Hustle. And there are a lot of bookkeepers there who are looking to work contract or be an employee. Now, in terms of testing their skill set, first of all, if they are QBO certified, at least I know that they've gone through that certification. I have a test that I give bookkeepers that I put together a while back. But I think there are some sites where you can give people a bookkeeping test, but they do need to be tested. Carol says, as far as niches, is there one that you would recommend starting with until the business really takes off? Some that are not as complicated for a beginner bookkeeper. Yes, that's a great question. And any business that is a service-based business is less complex than, say, a product-based business or e-commerce or restaurant or hair salon, project-based business. So service-based business is what I would start with, and actually what we focused on for several years. Val says, how can you still be resourceful on tax knowledge, like providing bookkeeping tips that help out with tax season, but have a clear line on providing tax advice? That is a great question, and I wish all bookkeepers would ask this question, because I mostly see bookkeepers who are trying to give tax advice to their clients, and you're not supposed to, because you're not a tax preparer or CPA or tax advisor. You are the bookkeeper. So this is also something where we have some very clear guidelines within my own firm. To give you an example, we work with a lot of S Corp owners. And so, as you know, S Corp owners have to take a reasonable compensation and distributions, and there has to be a certain ratio or a certain level of compensation before they take distributions. And so sometimes I'll notice that, okay, maybe they're not taking any compensation. So I will point out that, generally speaking, for an S corporation, you should be taking reasonable compensation and distribution, but you need to talk to your tax preparer. And I will generally then tell the client exactly like what words to use when they talk to their tax preparer. So I keep if I'm going to call it advice, is very general. So I will always say, generally speaking, and I am not advising you, but this is something that you need to look at, and here's what you need to ask your tax preparer. And actually, I think it is very resourceful, because you are seeing the client's books on a regular basis, whereas their tax preparer is not. Dunia asked, did you advertise a lot at the beginning, or was it more through referrals? How did you attract those premium clients? Another great question. I have never done any advertising, and I still don't. I focused initially on my website and in search engine optimization. So that meant that if people were looking for, say, a QuickBooks expert, which is how I was marketing myself initially, then they would find my website. Now, a lot has changed since the early 2010s to now. And we did not have social media then, if you can believe that. Okay. Facebook was just like, people were using it for posting pictures and things. Nobody was using Facebook or any social media at that point for growing a business. And so what I would do now is I would focus on social media and really amplifying my message on social media in my own let's say my own Facebook, my own Instagram, as well as joining Facebook groups where my ideal client is, and also joining Facebook groups for bookkeepers, and then letting people know that, my area of specialty is e-commerce, for example. LinkedIn is another great way to find clients, but as with anything, you have to really be proactive about making sure that you post, making sure that people know what you do, in order to get those referrals or for people to contact you directly. And by the way, in my course, Market Like an Extrovert, is where I really cover doing the foundational work for identifying who an ideal client is, what their needs are, then how to speak to a client, how to really clarify your marketing message in a way that resonates with them. Also how to communicate your value, and then ultimately then how to amplify that message. Georgia says, what was your initial setup to get away from the sticky notes? Great question. I was using Insightly. So we started using Insightly, which is actually a CRM system. I think they're still around. And so it had a component of project management. And so we went from stickies to Insightly, and then eventually moved on to Asana, which I think once we went to Asana, at that time, that was a game changer for us, just because of what it allowed us to do. And then the next game changer after Asana has been Keeper app. Kina says, I want to bring in more clients and then hire employees. My question is, what is the sweet spot for hiring employees? Is there a particular number of clients I should have? Or wait until I'm making a certain revenue before hiring? Great question. So one of the problems that I see for some of the people that I mentor is that they want to hire employees and need to hire employees because they're working too hard, but they're not charging enough to clients to then be able to pay an employee and themselves. And so, first of all, you need to address your pricing and make sure that you are pricing enough in order to then, if you had an employee, that you would be able to pay them as well as then have a profit for yourself. And then you need to set money aside in the bank, because once you hire employees, then you're committed to paying them, whether whether you get the clients or not. So it is that kind of a challenging place to be in, because I was there for a while and it wasn't fun in the beginning. But you have to do that foundational work. In terms of revenue, I would say once you get to about 100,000 in annual revenues is about when you need to start looking at hiring more employees. I think might have been at 80,000 in revenue when I started hiring part-time help. Beth says, could someone have a profitable business with doing cleanups only, or should we do monthly clients? In terms of having a profitable business, as long as you price your cleanups correctly, yes, you can have a very profitable business. The question is, do you need ongoing revenue? So monthly clients provide ongoing revenue. So if you're taking care of monthly clients, you get that money in every month. But bookkeeping work can sometimes be very time consuming just because of all the touches you have to do with that client to get everything you need from them, as well as just, you're dealing with clients every single month, things come up, and you just have to be willing to then service, the clients and all the things that go along with servicing monthly clients. But if you get to a point where you just have cleanups on an ongoing basis, now you're doing a cleanup, you finish, you do another. And so I would say from a profitability standpoint, yes, cleanups would be great. From a cash flow perspective, I don't know unless you have enough cleanups coming in to then have steady cash flow coming in. David says the online hype is that posting profiles on Google, LinkedIn, QuickBooks will draw potential clients. This is false based on my experience, and you've directed your marketing efforts to local area via networking. What are good niches to reach out to? I'm reaching out to stylists, realtors, maybe attorneys. Not sure about their bookkeeping needs. Other ideas to connect to clients. Also, do business folks reach out online to online resources they don't know? My biggest challenge is to connect with prospective clients. Well, since you're then going for networking, David, that I think it would depend on what is available in your area. You probably can join some, let's say like a lawyers organization or realtor association, maybe go to a stylist conference in your area, something that to where you can get around more of those kinds of people, or network with people who are trusted advisors to the types of people that you want to work with. One thing about niching, and depending on where you live, is that you have to have enough of that type of niche in your local area. So I live in the Houston area. There's plenty of restaurants, attorneys, everything, you name it, because Houston is such a big city. Now, in terms of connecting with clients online, so as I said, all of our clients find us on YouTube. What you have to do in terms of whatever you do online is that you have to, first of all, be putting out content that people are looking for, because that's the only way they will find you. But once they find you, then they will know, like, and trust you by either looking at your resources, your videos, etc. And that know, like, and trust factor is what then really gets them to contact you for services. So they're not going to just find, just a random website and feel like, oh, I want to do business with that person. There has to be certain things on a website or certain things on a video or a blog post that then really allow them to start getting to know you better, finding more about you in order to then want to contact you. So what are some of those things? A headshot, okay? I don't know how many of you actually have a headshot, a nice picture of you on your website, on your Facebook, on your LinkedIn. It's all about doing business with real people. So that's one of the most important things. The only way they will feel like they know you is if they even know what you look like. Another is then talking directly to that ideal client. What do you do for them? It's not about timely and accurate financials. It's really about helping them in a way that then resonates with them. And another way is communicating your value. All right. Next question, Ari, how do you approach a pricing increase when your service are taking longer to provide because of more complex set of books? Okay. So first of all, we're going to talk to the client. We're going to do it via Zoom or in person. We don't want to do a phone call or an email. At least I don't do that. And then I'm going to tell the client that I'm going to need I'm going to have to increase your pricing to reflect the complexity and volume of transactions that we are now handling. I'm not going to mention that it's taking longer, okay, because I don't want them to think that they're paying us by the hour or that, I just think I'm not going to talk about how long it takes. We have more complexity. We have a higher volume of transactions. We have more bank accounts, whatever it is, that's what I will let them know. And then give them the increase. Many times what I do is that instead of telling them, for example, like your new price is $500 a month, I'll just say, and we're only increasing you by $100 a month. Okay, so what that does is that's a much smaller number. So instead of them hearing $500, then maybe they think that's a lot of money. I'm just telling them we're going up by $100 a month because that's a much smaller number. And then you have to be willing to stand your ground. So if there's going to be pushback, then let them think about it and get back to you. And you have to be willing to let that client go if they're not going to then be willing to pay you. Jessica asked, how do you find it, do you find it hard to sell your services without offering tax services? Absolutely not. However, remember when I talked about that I differentiated myself, and I have done it again through e-commerce niching, is that when you offer a service that is perceived as valuable and you are going to solve problems for your client, they don't care if you don't do the tax service because they can get anybody else to do the tax service. They want you to handle this problem that no one else can handle. And so as long as you position yourself with that in that niche or in that expertise or in that area of specialization where you can solve a problem that no one else can, or that at least they perceive that no one else can, they're okay with it. I have rarely had a client be worried about the fact that we don't do tax services because their CPA can handle the taxes. They just don't handle e-commerce, for example, or they don't know QuickBooks Online like we do, or they don't do a cleanup like we do. Okay, Beth is asking, is being QuickBooks certified enough experience to begin taking clients? No. You need to get a bookkeeper training. So QuickBooks certification only says that you know how to use QuickBooks, but QuickBooks is the software, it's not the bookkeeping methodology. So you need to get bookkeeper training. Ari asks, what is the best low budget software or process for accounts payable? I am not a fan of low budget anything because you get what you pay for. But having said that, Melio, if I have to choose, and it happens to be free in some instances, that you can use Melio for accounts payable processing. But I would encourage you to not look for low budget solutions because, as I said, you get what you pay for. And you need to invest in your business. You're worth it. Your clients are worth it. Beth asks, should someone gain bookkeeping experience from an employer before going into self-employment? Yes, if I think, Beth, you just asked me or said that you don't have bookkeeping experience. So yes, that is a very good way in which you can gain bookkeeping experience. The only thing I would say is when you're looking for employment as a bookkeeper with the intention of then having your bookkeeping business in the future, and you do not want to tell that employer that you're looking for a job so you can gain experience, because the employer they want to know what's in it for them. So how are you going to then help them to run, to grow their business? And so just keep in mind when you're I just see a lot of people saying, I'll work for free so I can gain experience. That's great, but I need someone to take care of clients and be a part of my team. Okay, so there's a difference from when someone just wants to gain experience because they will just come and go. But keep in mind also that it may take 2 years for you to 2 to 3 years possibly for you to gain a full level of bookkeeping experience to where then you're confident in being a self-employed bookkeeper. And so don't think it's going to be 6 months. You'll probably just be learning the basics in 6 months. And if you're going to work for someone else, then make it worth your while and their while, and have a plan for probably 2 years to stay with them. Katrina says, do you require clients to change to your preferred software when you onboard for payroll providers, AP? Okay, so we only work with QuickBooks Online clients. We've never had anybody not be using QuickBooks Online, but that is required. For our e-commerce clients, we also require them to use A2X as an integrator app between Shopify and QuickBooks Online. In terms of payroll providers or other type software, we don't have a requirement for that. However, we do not provide payroll or accounts payable services. Dawn says, can you show any examples of what you use to sync between Shopify and QBO? So I just said we use A2X. He says he's currently using Sender to sync between QBO and Stripe. And they say that they can sync Shopify too, but so many things to think about, like how to record inventory as an asset or COGS. So what do I recommend for a retail business? Okay, so I could go on for probably an hour talking about this. So I'm going to refer you to my YouTube playlist for e-commerce accounting. So just see if you can share that link. That will start to give you an idea of A2X, some of the things that you need to consider, as well as inventory. But needless to say, there is not one app that does everything we need in e-commerce. Accounting technology is kind of behind the times right now, and so we're having to sort of piecemeal things. Val asks, how do you present all the services you offer? I have mine broken down into monthly bookkeeping, catch-up, and setup. Does this make sense starting out? So in terms of identifying the services that you're going to provide, yes. So it would be monthly bookkeeping, catch up and set up definitely are services that you need to have starting out. In terms of what I'm presenting to a client, it very much depends on their needs. Most of our clients usually will have either don't have any books or they messed up their book. So we're usually then showing them our setup package, or we're doing a diagnostic review with the intention of doing a cleanup. Ahmed says, I have phone calls and emails, DMs to CPA firms and tax preparers and offered my bookkeeping services, even though they see me as a scammer just because I live in Dubai, and some of them say they have a time difference. How do you land your first bookkeeping client? Ahmed, a lot of it goes back to what I said before about the know, like, and trust factor. And so what you may need to do if you don't already is to have a website. It doesn't have to be a very big website, but something to where it's going to have your picture, maybe has an about you, tell your story. Like you need to really personalize yourself to the people that you're contacting, so that they can get to know you more and feel more like they can trust you. But I think that overall, that's for regardless of where you live, those are some of the things that you need to be doing anyway, so that then your potential clients can get to know, like, and trust you. But in terms of, like you're saying, sending emails and calls, I would not be DMing people on Facebook. That is like the kiss of death to me. Like, do not DM me. Most people don't like that because they feel it's intrusive. And so if you are active in the Facebook groups, you need to then be someone who's providing value, who's answering questions, who's encouraging people. And then people, again, will get to know you better, and you can go from there. Jennifer says, how long have you been a member of the CFO project community, and how has the program changed or helped your business, maybe the way that you work? I have not been a member very long, and I have gone through part of the training, but I have not completed the training just because I'm in the middle of a rebranding this year, and so I had to put that on hold. And so since I have not finished the training, I can't speak to how it has changed my business, because it hasn't changed my business yet, because I haven't implemented. And so my goal is to get back to my training after June, after we finish our rebranding, and then start implementing what I learned. But I will say that just from my own interactions with the people at the CFO project, that they're very upstanding business people who really have a passion for education, and the training that I have gone through actually is very, very good. Tanya Anderson is saying, with your e-commerce clients, how do you handle the sales tax returns as far as compiling the sales tax info from various platforms? So we don't do sales taxes for our clients unless maybe they're just filing in their home state, and if it's Texas, okay, that's all we do. Everything else is referred out to salestaxandmore.com. We don't. I never intended to do sales tax processing for our e-commerce clients, and we don't. And again, the clients don't mind because, as I said before, as long as you have specific expertise that they need, they don't mind if you then point them to other experts who can help them. Beth is asking, what is the difference in QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop? So QuickBooks Desktop is a completely separate software from QuickBooks Online that works on someone's desktop computer. That's what Intuit Corporation started with, was QuickBooks Desktop. In about 2013, 2014, they focused heavily on developing QuickBooks Online, and that's really the future, is where they're pushing people toward QuickBooks Online. But they're two different, very, very different software applications. Thao says, what drawbacks do you think about working as a contractor with shared revenue if the long term is to get your own clients? Well, I think if you're going to work as a contractor, that you're gaining experience working for someone else and really seeing all the different things that come up when you're doing bookkeeping that go well beyond what the bookkeeping training teaches you. Um, but if long term you're going to get your own clients, I think you have to then decide at one point you probably have to be doing your own business as well as being a contractor for someone else, just so that you can build your own book of business and replace the income that you're bringing as a contractor. So I think it's just more, um, it's up to you to determine how that will work and how long. Um, and another drawback may be just that your employer may not may not want you to be building your own book of business on the side. So that would be something you need to discuss. Beth says, can a bookkeeper work with clients who have revenue in the millions or only clients in thousands? A bookkeeper can work with clients with any level of revenue, just keeping in mind, though, that at some point, businesses that are large enough just bring in, they hire their own internal accounting department. But we work with clients that I think he's now at maybe $15 million a year in revenues. You just have to keep in mind that smaller clients have different needs than bigger clients. And so that's where that expertise comes in, and then being able to be a resource to those bigger clients and then helping them with some of those bigger needs that they have. And Beth says, is it mandatory for a business to register as an LLC in Texas? No. So you can be a sole proprietor just with a DBA, and I believe you just only have to have an assumed name. I don't know if it's a permit or a form that you have to fill out and file that. Carrie says, I have tried to package my pricing as I have learned, value package pricing. However, sometimes prospective clients try to argue the price in my proposal. I tend to try and work with clients on their budget, but that has not been working out. How do you handle these conversations? Okay. One of the things to keep in mind about pricing and value is that sometimes we're trying to work with clients that can't afford our services. And that happens a lot. Okay, so it's going to happen, first of all. It is up to you to see if you can work on their budget, but perhaps you're aiming for the wrong kinds of clients, which is, I think, what I eventually figured out, that I was aiming and going for clients that were just not the right fit for me, just because I was more comfortable with maybe a smaller client than I was a bigger client. And so I would encourage you, Carrie, to first start looking at who is an ideal client for you, so you have a clear idea of who that is. And so that then when you're talking to prospective clients, you will know whether they're a right fit. Because what we tend to do is that we go for any client, for any service, for any price. And so then we get stuck with wrong clients. We get stuck in the cycle of any client, any service, any price, wrong client. I'm confused as to why I keep getting bad clients, and I keep putting out the same message, I'd say marketing message, and I keep getting the same clients. So a lot of that has to do with who is an ideal client for you, what are their needs, what is your value to that specific client. I usually like to talk about like a t-shirt. Okay, we can buy a t-shirt at Walmart for about $4. And there are many, many people who, when they don't care if they go buy a $4 t-shirt at Walmart. But there are people who will buy a $100 t-shirt at Nordstrom, and they only want the $100 t-shirt. So there are people also in between. Maybe they want a $30 t-shirt. And so we need to know what kind of t-shirt are we selling, so that we don't keep selling, we don't keep attracting the $4 t-shirt people, because there are many, many more of them, but they're not the right client for us. And so, long story short, a lot of that has to do with, do you have a clear idea of who your ideal client is so that they can self-identify? Because marketing is very much about attracting the right client, but it's also about repelling the wrong clients. And I teach all of this in my course, Market Like an Extrovert. So market like an extrovert. All right, Amy, I'm just looking at the time. All right, Amy says, can you give me a quick preview of the mentoring coaching services you'll be offering and pricing? If you go to my website at vmwasek.com, then go to the services page, then you'll be able to get a brochure that will list the services and pricing. But we will have a full announcement probably next month. Carol Fleming says, if using QBO, and as far as pricing, does it make sense to charge by the number of monthly transactions that come through the bank feed? I used to do that, and I felt like that was a good way to do it. But honestly, Carol, I just got tired of counting transactions. So I do have a course called A Simple Pricing System, in which I go through my pricing methodology, which is based actually on revenues. And I talk about the fact that, yes, I was doing all kinds of calculations and spreadsheets and ultimately found it necessary to just simplify my pricing. And I'm much happier with my simple pricing method instead of counting transactions or other methods. Brianna says, I have had several businesses reach out to ask me if I provide training in QBO or help them set up QBO. I'm tempted to say yes because I like helping people, but I want to be profitable. And so by training them, I'm telling them how to do my own job. How do you approach this conversation and attempt to convert them to monthly clients? Okay. First of all, training is a very, very profitable area and niche. If you're looking for a niche, people, pay attention. Okay. If you're looking for a niche or a niche, okay, training clients is very, very profitable. You can charge much more. You can charge $250 an hour easy for training to the right client. With the understanding that you are empowering them. Okay, so you're not training them to do your job, because you cannot turn them into bookkeepers. And they all understand you're not turning them into a bookkeeper. You're empowering them to have some control over their financials. There are a lot of people that will pay you much, much more to train them than they ever would if you do their own bookkeeping. And so this is something that we still do. We coach clients, and then we offer them services to help them to continue on their own, but always with the understanding, I'm not turning you into a bookkeeper. I'm just giving you some workflows that you can use on a monthly basis, and they're fine with that. So if you would like to make $200+ an hour, then training is the way to go. And at some point, those clients will turn into monthly clients as well. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly, or it says, are there any pieces of advice you would give to your past self during the first or second year of starting your business? With your current wisdom, what would you do differently if you were to do it all over again? Wow. Oh my goodness. Where to start? Okay. If I had to travel back in time, I would, number one, tell myself, stop being afraid, because I was so scared. I spent many years being scared. So afraid. So stop being afraid was number one. Number two, be confident in yourself, because I was not confident in the beginning. And probably as I started to hire employees, would be to let go, because I just was just wanted perfection. I didn't think employees could do all the things that I thought they should be doing. I wouldn't let it go. And in fact, one of my employees gave me a little picture that said "Let it go," because delegating was one of the hardest things I ever had to learn. But fear, confidence, let it go. And let me see how we're doing on time. Oh gosh, okay. So I'm going to stop with the questions I'm going to answer the rest of the questions, but I'm going to ask you to not add any more questions because I need to have time to wrap it up and then go over some resources and our sale. So so we're going to stop it, Jesse, with Don Schrader at the end where it says, where was the link I mentioned about the A2X video. So we'll stop it at that, but I will answer all of these remaining questions. So Raj says, how to do bookkeeping or accounting business with clients in countries like Iraq, which don't have a banking system or standard environments? I don't know. That would be a great question to ask people maybe who are working in those countries, because that would definitely be very challenging to do that. So you may want to reach out, maybe even in my own Facebook group, and ask that question. Kina says, how can I take on bookkeeping clients for more complex industries, such as the legal field, medical field, without experience in the field? I think you need to get around someone who's teaching you how to work in those areas. So Linda Artesani is one for legal field. She has training on that. We have you may have to ask that in my Facebook group so I can then remember some of the other people who are teaching, who are doing niche training. There's not a lot of it, but there are some people who are doing a good job. So Linda's one. We have a Shopify course. There are a few other people I know who are doing construction as well as real estate. Ahmed says, if I don't provide content on social media, then is it beneficial to create an Upwork profile? Okay, I've never worked with Upwork. I know people who do are very successful at it. Donna Reed is one who is very successful with Upwork, and I think she might teach a course also on that. But yeah, most definitely you can use Upwork. Some people do use it and are successful with it. Don says, can clients keep the inventory in Shopify and just use QBO to keep the general information and not per inventory item? Yes. That's actually the standard for e-commerce clients. You do not use the QBO inventory feature. Let's see. Hokabid. Do certifications like CMA, are those certifications worth investing in for a bookkeeper? I probably would say no, but I'm not familiar. I mean, I know what the CMA certification is. I just don't know if it would help you or translate into a bookkeeping role, perhaps an advisory role. Okay, and the last question from Abiola, please, do you have a social media management company, someone that manages your website, YouTube, Instagram, etc.? I'm not tech savvy. Look up, this is not the company I'm using, but one that I've been eyeing and that I know of several people who use it, is called The Social Accountant. And they provide social media content and also do social media management. All right, fantastic. Wow, that was a lot. All right, so I'm going to switch back to our slides and just share with you a couple of resources. So first of all, my YouTube channel. So I mentioned about my YouTube channel and the playlists that are there. So there are some playlists for QuickBooks Online diagnosis and cleanup. We have e-commerce accounting in there as well, and also growing a successful virtual bookkeeping business. You also have 5MB Academy, which is my online academy for bookkeepers, and I will tell you about that in just a moment. And if you're not already signed up, then sign up to get all of my latest content, webinars, and courses by following that link. All right, so lastly, wanted to talk to you very quickly about how knowledge empowers you. As you know, I said I started all by myself. I grew this business. I developed these systems and ways of doing things very profitably. And I started to see a need in our industry for bookkeepers to become confident. There are many of you who are becoming bookkeepers. You're getting the bookkeeper training, but you still lack confidence because perhaps you don't have enough of the technical knowledge that you need, or you're lacking processes in how to do things efficiently and profitably. And so I put together my own online academy for bookkeepers called 5MB Academy. M stands for minute and B for bookkeeping, which is my brand, 5-Minute Bookkeeping. So it's the 5MB Academy. And I've put together several courses, my Shopify bookkeeping method, the virtual bookkeepers roadmap, the complete QBO cleanup system, QBO pay diagnostic review, my simple pricing system, and unlock your financials. And probably we'll put out more courses in the future. And this is all just as a result of my passion to help empower you as you're working with clients. So I wanted to let you know about a sale that we're starting today, as a matter of fact, right now. So you get first access to the sale. And we're offering a 12% discount on all of the Academy courses. So if you follow the link, and I believe Jessie will be sharing that link with you in the chat, then, yep, she's got it right there. Then follow the link to look at all of the courses and use the coupon code 5MBSAVE12. And that is all lowercase. So Jessie, if you can share that link, or rather the coupon code with them, then that will enable you to get 12%, a 12% discount on all of our courses. The sale, as I said, starts today and expires on Sunday. All right, fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm always so excited to be with you, always very excited to answer your questions, especially there were some very good questions. I love the one about what would I tell myself, my younger self, 13 years ago. And it's interesting how it was really all about mindset, because I had everything in me. I just didn't know it was there. So it was a mindset thing. But again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.